Neurokintsugi is actually, it's a neurographic art based method with the use of golden marker. My name is Alina Smolyansky. Those who don't know me, I'm a certified instructor of Neurographica and Neurokintsugi. Special about Neurokintsugi, it's a very limited technique. It's only taught by one instructor, and I'm the one was lucky enough to get this class and to be able to make it available in English. So I'm the only English speaking instructor who teaches it in English. So this is just an introduction class about the method. There's also, you can watch it if it's a free class for you. You can watch it recording, and I have another one class before that I also offer it free, but will show the presentation is very similar, but the technique that I show today will be different. The course that teaches the actual 3 techniques of Neurokintsugi will not cover this basic. So if you are signed for the course, so please watch this free recording, because I will explain about Neurokintsugi without this so special about art therapy. So I hope that everyone is familiar with Neurographica or Neurographic Art. If not, I will give a short introduction after the presentation. Let's talk about what this is: Neurokintsugi, Japanese art, and Neurographica. So I will share my screen. So what I call the name of this course is Embracing the Power of Wholeness, because when we realize that we are whole, only then we can be ourselves and feel confident. The technique of Kintsugi, as an ancient Japanese art, it's just about that. It's how to make something make whole again. You know that there are many things that happens in our life. We're whole when we're born, but there are various ideas, and we have different experiences that makes us at a certain point feel as we're not whole. It doesn't mean that we're not. It's just our feeling perception. And the class is about, it's nothing like that. It's just trying to change our perception about Kintsugi. That's an ancient Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery with a mixture. It's lacquer mixed with gold, silver, and platinum, creating a beautiful pattern of cracks. Whatever cracked, whatever happened, and you know that when it's cracked, it fell in uneven pieces, and it's put together by this lacquer, this called urushi, which is quite poisonous. Supposedly that Kintsugi originated some 3,000 years ago, but it's not really known. But what is known that it was developed about 15th, 16th century. The reason behind it of this technique that the object damage is not hidden, but intentionally emphasized. And typically what you see at golden joints, which is also called kintsugi roi, using gold to emphasize those old so-called wounds or scars. And what's interesting about this object, if it happens that it breaks again, it will not be able to, it can be broken, but it will not, but those seams will remain whole. Also, Kintsugi pieces as art objects, they're valued because they are unique. A piece will not be broken in many different things, which is idea behind us. So all our experiences are very different from unique in each other. And if comparing to we can compare ourselves only to ourselves, not to anybody else, because everyone is so different. The story about, according to legend, the story about it, that the shogun, Japanese shogun, named Yoshimasa, had a favorite tea bowl from China, and it was broken. And he was very upset, and he sent it back to China to get repaired. The Chinese master repaired it, but he put like staples to hold it together, which the shogun found it's not appealing to his aesthetic taste. So he called his craftsmen and asked whether they can find an alternative that will put the piece together, or find a unique way of restoring. So with one or two masters, they decided, they put it together, they found the way how to glue pieces together. And instead of hiding what the scars, the wounds, the broken pieces, they applied gold to emphasize that process. So in this way, Kintsugi, which became known as art therapy in the West, it serves a symbol of healing ourselves and transforming, not healing, or transforming ourselves and being able to view ourselves, not as broken, like remove our impression of brokenness and still have our wholeness, preserving our wholeness, understanding it based on our experience. It's like newfound wholeness from what it was, a new beginning, and this is a new beginning again. And that's one of the basic principles of Neurokintsugi, of Kintsugi itself, that's finding wholeness and finding new. It's like a new life. There are three different ways to put the pieces together. They are crack. And why it's important to know, because we will use similar techniques in our drawing. So the crack is like a filling pieces, like it's putting it really well together. And if there are tiny cracks are formed, they are put gold powder mixed with lacquer put into it, and it creates tiny cracks and like reflecting gold, like light. But they are small, like cracks are smaller. A piece method is actually putting a piece of lacquer and cover it with gold if anything is missing. It's like patching. Because you can imagine that sometimes if something breaks into pieces, there are some maybe dust formed, maybe some tiny bits and pieces that can be held in place. So instead, the piece of gold is put instead of it. Not a piece of gold, but lacquer, like a patch, and covered with lacquer. And the third method, which is very interesting again, is like adding in the missing, instead of a missing piece, something new, like finding a piece that can enhance the beauty and is serving as a contrast, and they're similar shape, so they could fit into the place. And again, filling with the gold. So putting it all together. That's now we show Modern Master. The method of Kintsugi itself is a whole like culture and philosophy behind it. In Japan, to be master, you need years of training under accomplished master. There are very few Kintsugi masters left using the old method, and especially abroad, then it's like certain art that's not, it's not a modern day like art, but the idea of Kintsugi was well established in North America and around the world, when that process is used in progressive art therapy. It involves several steps. And you can imagine that broken pieces, when something is broken, a person brings like broken vase or bowl to a master. And he or she has to put it first together, whether using the tape to hold it together in place, just to see what it looks like, because it's not known how the object looked before it was broken. So you have to assemble it first, hold it with a tape, and then fill it with a clean all these seams from dust, from also remove any broken pieces, and fill it with lacquer, with a urushi lacquer, and put it together. And after that, patience is required, and idea of not so much prayer, but meditation. It takes a few weeks before glue solidifies that can hold the object together. If it's taking too soon, the process could be also associated with process of our harmonizing. If it's taking too soon, it might fall apart again. So we need to have patience working with ourselves and not demand intense work right there when it's the object is not wholly restored and can hold itself. So, and then after that, the second step is applying. So the third step is to apply gold, like again, apply the lacquer mixed with typically gold powder, but it could be any powder like noble metals like silver or platinum. And the final step is again polishing, removing excess of gold, and once everything is finished, it's probably the whole process will take a few weeks. It's to admire and contemplate the beauty of a new object that's completely unique and that highlights those long history. So nowadays, what the goals of Kintsugi therapy, as it's called, it's like could be improving our health, reduce anxiety, of course, working with self-esteem and acceptance, self-acceptance. It also can promote creativity and personal growth, and of course, finding like-minded people who can share experience. There are many, many potential benefits of this method. However, there is a disadvantage of this method. The only one is like Kintsugi art therapy, because it requires material, requires special repair kit, and maybe a workshop to assemble it. So here comes the idea that can solve this disadvantage, and this is Neurokintsugi. So Neurokintsugi was developed by my Israeli colleague Irene Martinova, and she's teaching it in Russian. I'm not sure about Hebrew, but she's teaching it in Russian. And what's the idea? It's that's similar to Kintsugi therapy, art therapy of Kintsugi. It's like putting together, but using the elements of neurographic art and the gold marker or gold paint. I use gold paint because I'm an artist, and so I have gold paint, and I found it is more difficult. Maybe you need to be more skillful with holding a brush, but the effect is more interesting. So they chose my artwork, that some of them are in the classes, that material, it's not from this introduction, but it's actually from the class, and some of it from the training. When I refer to the course, the Neurokintsugi course itself, which I will offer once in a while, maybe once a year. So the session 1 is drawing the golden mandala of wholeness. Session 2, the puzzle of my life, and session 3, the desires of my heart. So that's, if anybody is interested in the course, that's different sessions, 3 sessions that we're going to cover in the course. And if you need more resources to read more about Kintsugi, the art of Kintsugi, as it in Japan or in modern art is evolved from repairing broken pottery, but also elements of Kintsugi therapy, please, there are many resources, and you can find many sources online if it piques your interest. So now I would like to, so we'll go back to our room. So from my experience and experience of others who took courses with me, and those I taught about Neurokintsugi, it's more gentle. It's used the same rules as Neurographica. So what I found with using the gold marker and gold paint, that I need fewer neurographic lines. Yeah, so the concept of wabi-sabi that's used in the Neurokintsugi is about embracing imperfection and simplicity. There also another concept that involved with the Kintsugi is more like with Zen Buddhism. It's about being in the flow, no mind, having open mind, empty mind, and going with the flow. That's a concept of, in Buddhism, in Zen Buddhism. And it's another concept used in Kintsugi. The art of Kintsugi. Of course, it's I do not remember the Japanese word, but it's about nothing is wasted, and that retaining and using it again, repurposing it. The Neurokintsugi method uses Neurographica and is combined with its steps. Some steps that apply, but you don't have to take. It's enough to be familiar with the neurographic art, neurographic method to be able to complete to work within neuro Kintsugi. So those who took courses, they know that it's more gentle. Like in general process, there is something about gold, something about idea of gold and transforming idea of gold color into gold. So we will use only one marker. So if you know the rules about do not mix colors and do not mix other colors, because gold marker, any metallic marker, does not mix well with any other marker. So if you use gold marker, please use only gold marker. I will show some technique that if you're familiar with Neurographica, you will find it looks familiar. But it could be used, and also if you're familiar with Neurographica enough, you can just use gold marker instead of anything else. But you may find that some sources that blame the gold marker, and there was an argument against the golden marker. So please do not take it seriously. There is nothing dangerous. It's nothing harmful about using the gold marker. Just imagine that instead of black marker or blue marker or red marker, you're using gold marker. So now let's dive into drawing. A question: does the 1-2 millimeter gold marker work? Probably the middle size can work. I'm not very knowledgeable about actually the materials with gold markers. So I have one acrylic marker, which is not great. I think it's a thick one, and I have one which is finer one, oil-based. I prefer oil-based, but it has its own character. So I show this my two markers that I use in this drawing. So one is a acrylic marker, so wider. Doesn't look much more gold, more like yellow. This one oil-based, I prefer, but it takes a while for it to start drawing. So if in this class, if you do not have a marker, a gold marker right now, it's not a problem. You can use any other marker that looks like gold, maybe to have a concept, to understand that concept. And those who joined and do not know about the Neurographic, I just quickly repeat what you need to know about the Neurographic art and the method of Neurographica that we're going to use today. The first one and the most important is the neurographic line. So it's by definition, this is the line that doesn't repeat itself. So for now, you just focus that when we create the line, the pattern is not repeated. Its character is not repeated. So just like Neurographica, neuro Kintsugi is also practice of concentration and meditation. So when you draw the line, please focus on your attention, your eyes on the tip of the marker, and make sure that you do not repeat it. So this also promotes creativity, because we're going kind of against our pattern, and pattern that makes our life more kind of, we feel that we are stuck in a certain habit, stereotypes. So that the neurographic line is designed to overcome those patterns and create new neural pathways and establish new habits, desirable habits in our brain and our mind. Okay? So that's a neurographic line. So it doesn't repeat itself. The second very important element is rounding. So of course, when we see the lines cross, a little bit wider, you can see better. When two lines cross, two or more, they create sharp angles. That's also idea of two reasons why we round the corners. It looks like this small U shape, and filling in, and then blending in and making nice transition. So the first element, it's connection between the lines. That is very important. If we think that every line is a thought in our subconscious mind, and the other line represents another thought, this, do not take it seriously. It's not a circle. It's just, I put it for emphasis. This crossing, this connection, this element represents that two connection is formed between the neurons. It's how they communicate. And the more connections we form in relation to one theme, our idea, our intention behind the drawing, the more the easiest to solve the problem or issue or find an answer to your question. So this is one of the idea behind rounding. The second one, of course, is about visual perception. Typically, the circle represents wholeness, perfection, symmetry, timelessness, everything we can associate with anything good, positive. Overall, we have like a positive response to circular shapes. It's probably embedded very deep in our reptilian brain when we first saw the sun, and the sun meant warmth and also light to save us from anything that we do not know. The triangle is a different kind of shape, and it has a different response based on our natural abilities, based on our, again, mind, reptilian mind, the very deep that when we act without any thoughts processing. It sort of suggests an element of danger because of its sharpness. And sharpness could be like animals' claws or fangs, and sharp elements like anywhere. So compare how your response is to these two lines. This line and softened line. So when we use Neurographica, with the Neurographica, the principle of rounding, this means that we almost like convert something that presents a negative aspect, like we perceive it as negative. With our own hand, we convert it into a positive element by softening this element when intersection and making it smooth transition. Also, another element of Neurographic, of course, it's all the elements have to be connected, which means connection in the consciousness that connects everything, space that connects everything. You see like two different colors, and if I draw something like this in Neurographic, I have to make sure that they connect, which is not very easy with the two contrasting markers. I'll just outline and make connection. So that's why using two contrasting colors is not good. So that's so far that you need to know about for drawing today. And now we can use these techniques to start our Neuro-Kintsugi drawing. Similar to Neurographica and Neurographic Art, the method of Neuro-Kintsugi, of course, relies on our intention behind our drawing. Like when with this, I would like to invite you to think about something that you are not completely satisfied with now. So we're thinking about moving towards wholeness, towards feeling good, feeling safe. And we can feel safe only when we feel whole, without controversies, without any number of voices that speak within us. Everyone has like a chorus and not this discord, and every voice speaks a different way. So we want one thing, but we feel afraid and everything else. So if you can think of something right now, that any idea that prevents you from moving from this space, from what you know, to something that you would like to be, like any concept, like maybe fear, maybe change, maybe, yeah, I said the word change. For me, it's a change right now. And with this, when you have this something, when you identify the theme for your drawing today, I suggest that we do a small, like a catharsis. It's like a very quick drawing, it's emotional outburst that represents that our hidden concern. So I will use an old marker to create this doodle. It's a very quick motion, what we call catharsis. And I will use a different marker. Like I feel like having like, I don't know why I decided to draw with red, which is not really my color. You can use any color marker, but make sure that it's alcohol based, so it can bleed through the paper. And I use simple paper, like from computer copy paper. So I will focus on this idea, my intention behind this drawing. That's something I would like to overcome. And I will draw very quick, like motion like this. So if you are new to Neurographica, please watch and then repeat. I gather my energy, probably 2-3 seconds, not too complex, and I'll do. Well, I hope everyone has this, something like this, not the most attractive figure. Now I think I'm going to use my marker. This one will, one of the reds. See that it's important that it leads to. This is what I want. Normally it's not desirable, but for me it's desirable right now. So, and so you can see when we're not doing anything with it now, but what will the next step, and this is important, that we're going to identify one area, and I suggested using some round object. Could be not a compass, but something, no, maybe a cup, maybe a lid that you can use, so it's not transparent, to cover something the most intense, the most the area of the drawing that the most concerned. So I think like this, all this. So for me, it's more like with all these intersections. So I'll cover it. I protect myself with this circle. So this is me, and whatever is left, it's everything is safe within. And with this idea that everything is safe, I start, first I round the corners. You can also use lines, and make it sure it's wide. It's okay. If you know, you can apply the neurographic line on top of this line, but most importantly, it's to round everything. And if you draw the lines, please round. So if you have a small area here, you can fill it in. I'm going to draw the circle to protect myself. And during this process, I do not recall anything like specific. Like my mind is quite blank right now in relation to whatever happened. It doesn't matter what happened. I don't remember anything, and I don't want to remember. All I want to do is just to move forward. And the only way to move forward is to using our experience, past, our life as fuel. Yes, I acknowledge with this every line I draw, I acknowledge what happened, but at the same time, I do not want to remember, and I do not remember. However, without this element, I will not be able to build anything new. If I don't have an experience that propelled me in this direction, I will not be here. So I acknowledge, I'm grateful for the experience. So that's the idea of gratitude, important. But I would like this figure for me represent a change, like a new life. So whatever happened, I'm giving this idea a new life. And when I continue, now there's also the process that we're doing now. We imitate this idea of art of Kintsugi. We're putting the things together by using this glue. In reality, it's black. That the lacquer, the Roshi lacquer that's used for holding pieces together, initial, it's black. But I just for some reason I couldn't use the black marker. So last of few weeks, I find it almost like repelled by the black marker. So anyway, so I decided to use a different color today. And if you can see these pieces, it probably will be too small. I just make it, I fill it in, maybe around. Make sure that my lines not repeat the pattern. Oh, there's no pattern actually, no repetition. So if you have these ideas, if you can follow ideas about it, that's a process of renewal. And it's everything, it's just in our mind. There's nothing, nothing like this that was the idea of brokenness. It just serves in our mind. So what we're working is in our perception. For me personally, I do not think of repairing and brokenness right now. So I didn't want it to be the topic of this course. So I tried not to mention. Also, in a real in Kintsugi therapy, they mention repairing brokenness from traumas and everything else. My focus is mostly on moving forward and using past experience. So recreating and moving forward. So the course that I'm thinking about, it's just with the idea with creating new image. What we're doing here, we're just recreating new image and of ourselves. And our life will be aligned with this image. So if you think about any change in your life, at the first we need to start with ourselves. And then life will adjust itself. Oh. Whatever I was drawing, but I'm feeling quite positive now. I like this. There's nothing here, but there is something happened here that I like it. I don't know why. Just the only thing I find a little bit disturbing. You do not need to do this, but the corner here, it's too sharp, and I just take it, connect it. Just one element. Actually, this one too. Others are fine. Okay. Don't want to distract me with this. Okay, so now the magic begins. A stage of ourselves, of being putting ourselves together. This what represents like with a in real Kintsugi, that we put the object together. So it's held now by this dark glue. We are not applying gold yet. So all we need to do now, okay, step back, look at it. It's giving it time to dry, like the idea with the glue, and think whether you're ready to move forward. We'll move the page. Well, I'll just turn it to the other side. Well, you see what happens. That also happens how we can reframe our situation. That's why I ask for alcohol-based markers. Here's a very different pattern. And here's for me a way to look at the situation from a different angle. So first mirror and a different, maybe different environment. So right now, it doesn't matter what angle I'm holding it at, but now it's time to use our gold markers. Now, honestly, I do not know what my marker will tell me with this color. Yeah, I think And I cover, so all this now with gold, transforming, that's like in alchemy, lead into gold. So it's all these dark lines, whatever they are, I cover with gold marker or gold color. So and also please be careful because gold markers, they have ink that doesn't dry. It's acrylic based. It doesn't dry quite quickly. So when to prevent smudging, move from one area to another. You can rotate the drawing. That's quite a nice, interesting effect. How this, how ink bled through the paper and created some interesting patterns. It's natural. And also, similar to Neurographica, I'm observing what happens to me. How is where my mind is? Is any changes I'm observing in my emotions? Now I'm feeling quite positive. I don't know, even something, there's nothing in this drawing, but I feel good about it. I just like it the way it is. I mean, well, essentially, it's not like I like the drawing. Yeah, there was a question. So the purpose of turning the page to the reverse was to remove the rest of the catharsis. Now the focus is on the wholeness. Yes, we harmonized whatever it was before, and now we can looking at an issue, whatever, from a different point of view. So there will be like a coincidence. Yes, it's still an image that still exists, but now here's very interesting. I can use this one for some drawing later. Here we're like reframing the situation and look at it in a new light. Like even looking at if we're turning it upside down and sideways, there is many ways of perceiving it. I think my marker is dried or it's not cooperating. So maybe it's truly the sign for me to move to the medium I prefer. I use gold paint. And it's a gold pigment and tempera. So that's my this. I found that works. I feel more connection when I draw with a brush. Now the advantage of using paint, because it's cheaper than gold marker. It's more reliable because you can paint on any marker. Disadvantage, you have to load the brush quite often. And the effect is much more better. Yeah. Like brighter. Right. So I use make it faster. I use a wider brush. If anyone you would like to use a brush, please remember the paint takes longer to dry. So if you have the other marker that you can see through as possible, because a gold marker doesn't cover always, that's something to think about, whether you want to see it, whether you want to remember or not. If I work with a gold marker right now, yeah, there's a comment. I agree with it. They had a few comments about it in the past as well. And when I work with the brush, it's like meditation itself. So that's another advantage of using the brush. So what's also good about this technique, so what I found that it's not possible to draw fast with golden marker. They have their own character. They're not so the way they flow. It's not easy to work with them, but it also takes us time to think, to reflect. See whether my marker recovered. Nope. Filling it nicely. Sakura Gold gel pen. Yes, I have one gel pen. It's good. I like them. So the gel, for example, gel pen they cover nicely and they write very nice, like create a nice color. And the only problem, they're quite thin. They're excellent for thin lines. Wow. I just love how it shines right away. I cover, make sure that I do not want to see anything new. So what for me that feels like, yes, I do use the lines from my past experience. I use my past experience. I use my knowledge and but what I do is like a symbol of transformation. So energy, there was energy that was perceived by me as negative. Event is negative. I use the same energy and channel it something else. So the energy remains there. The energy of this emotions and feeling remains there. But it's used, but it's different now. It feels differently and it's used differently. Yeah, I think we can like first we can put additional lines, but first let's cover the lines that we have here within with this circle. The only disadvantage is that I have to create paint to add more paint powder. Also, I used watercolor, gold watercolor for this purpose. Okay. Question whether I need a fixative over the chalk. That's if you're asking me what I'm using, the one that I'm using is it's pigment, and it's and I use Kazin temper, which is ancient medium. It's made from, it's called also milk paint. It's the derivative from a milk product, and it has it's combined with the materials, other agent to create sticky substance. So it's like liquid, like this. And when it dries, it dries like a quite solid. Like once it dries well, it can be even diluted with water, but it's water soluble. Now, those who know me, I paint in neck temper, so that's why I'm familiar with this different mediums. Okay, that's a good idea. What Amazon sells the Sakura gel pens at a very reasonable price. The 6-pack, yes, that could be. It's a good idea. So yes, please consider if you're thinking of taking the course, I probably will use gold marker quite a bit. I will check gold markers. Yes, now when I'm satisfied with whatever happened in my, you're talking about chalk markers. Markers look good and feel like regular markers. Haven't used anything over them. I don't know enough about chalk markers, but I will check. So yes, please share if you have your favorite materials that could be good for this method, used in this method, and your favorite proven, tested markers, gold markers, metallic markers, and pens, please share. I had this hybrid gel, a gold marker that was a gel pen. It's quite good. I liked it. The only disadvantage that it's too thin. Okay. So when the figure is complete here, I can also deal with whatever remaining lines that remain from the catharsis. And I deal with them in a fashion that we know and that we're familiar and we're very good at. So we'll just I draw the lines to complete this drawing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're good points. So they flow, gel markers flow like paint. And also, if you buying, we need for the class for this kind of work, we typically need markers like at least 2 thickness, like a medium size and a thin one. And even if they called gold markers, but they do not match. The colors do not match. The one that I have, a thin one, is gold, oil-based, very different gold than acrylic gold marker. So probably buying them from the same manufacturer will ensure that you have the same color. For example, I know that gold marker can quite a gold pen, gel pen, matches the paint quite nicely, but the acrylic marker, no, it just doesn't look good. Of course, there are different qualities, acrylic markers. So, and I treat the remaining lines, the ones that were left from the catharsis, as catharsis, like I acknowledge them. First, I acknowledge them, and then I start transforming them. For example, the sharp points, I extend them to the edge, usual. And now this figure is complete. The one that we used, the one that's catharsis, and I reflected it. Now it's all covered with gold. Well, it's provided it's dry, and there's a time also to reflect what it reminds me, what ideas it comes to me, and also next step will be like polishing, adding additional if you feel like connecting with the background, following the basic algorithm suggested on Neurographica. So that I'm suggesting to those who know. Actually, so those who are familiar with Neurographica, you're welcome to continue and treat it. You know what I'm talking about when I think about when I mention connection figure in the background with neurographic with the other lines of field lines that you know. I will not use color for this drawing. I'm sure quite often the drawings that are done in this technique, neuro Kintsugi, do not require colors, and quite often I leave them in gold and white, gold on white paper. I might add a little bit of toning with, for example, yellow. If you think about coloring, you may add maybe a little bit yellow tone, just to maybe to highlight, to make it stand out more. But that will be a step when I'm thinking later. You know what I'm really attracted in this drawing? I do not know what it reminds me, but for some reason I'm fascinated with this triangle that's formed within. So all I can see, even if it has a triangle, but it's still one triangle that points, and there's another triangle pointing there. Now I saw it. I think I will probably limit my drawing to make a few lines. I will work with this area, like square. And I can work, so I can, of course, I think about the lines and connect it with the background. So what else? Now, when I acknowledge your own, a safe place, now that you have the situation, whatever changed, you knew your image of yourself, your perception as something new based on your experience. That's a figure that it represents you or your attitude or situation. Now it's time to connect it with the world around us. I still prefer drawing. No, I still prefer drawing with a with a brush. So I can use it. Of course, a space. I start exploring the space here with the neurographic lines. Creating this safe and friendly environment the way I imagine it outside of me. Whether I want to add more lines in the middle, I don't know. I'll probably leave it as it is right now. First, I will work over this area. Outside of me. And then I'll see what if there's something necessary required, if my attention will move to this area, to the inside. So by the way, this is my favorite part when I okay, well, what paint I'm using. If you would like to use paint, I will suggest using watercolor, a gold watercolor. It's much easier to use. I'm using it because this one because I have it, but it's not a common solution. I use a finer brush to create finer lines. This is the advantage of using paint and brush, because I don't need a marker, a different marker. I use a finer brush. So we're almost at the end of our class, time together. Because I can, like this, I can paint for a long time and silently. It's a time, actually, it's a very good meditation and visualization exercise right now. When your mind is, your attention is preoccupied with drawing, and it's time to think about the visualize. Yes. So for those artists who are just here, and if you have painting supplies, try. You're welcome to try this idea of drawing the lines, the neurographic line with a brush. It's a very different experience compared to a marker. It's also much more sensitive. You can feel like any pressure will change the line. I would say it's like sensual experience. Okay, yeah. And there was a comment. I had to put another smaller circle around my center circle. Yeah, maybe it works. Maybe you need like an extra. Yeah, it was very nice, but I have to stop doing this. Otherwise, I get so. Yeah, I still have. I like this triangle and like another triangle, which is good. That's probably I do need like radical change, radical kind of approach towards what I'm doing. I mean, it's in relation to my professional life. So triangles are good. So I'm glad to see triangles here. And I'm not afraid of triangles. Not in this situation. Not in this. But if you disturb it with triangles, please make sure that you do not emphasize triangles. Yes, it's what I understood. I mean, a small circle inside a larger circle. Yes, you can experiment. You're feeling it's your drawing.